me introduce it. If you're going to coach the high jump, who better than one of the great high jumpers in U.S. history here, Doug Nordquist. He was runner-up in 1984 at the U.S. Olympic trials. He PR'd twice that day, going 7.7. Later that summer, he was fifth in the 1984 Olympic Games with a jump of 7.6. He's won our national championship in 86 and 88. He was the first Goodwill Games champion, jumping 7.8.5. And his PR is 7.8 3/4. He did that. We'll finish runner-up in the national championship right over at Cerritos College. He was an outstanding high jumper at Sonora High School. Got third in the state meet, went 6.10 in 1977. Was that you landed in pits or you landed in sawdust in 1977? I think we had pits by then. Anyway, Doug was also the captain of the 1979 Fullerton College team and his 1981 team at Washington State. He's a great guy, a great teacher, and a great coach, and we're just delighted to have him. So, hey, Doug, help! I have to coach the high jump. What do I do?
Okay, now do I share my screen now?
Yeah, you share your screen now.
Share my screen now. Okay.
There you go.
All right, everybody see that? Okay, let's see if I can get my right buttons going. There we go. Come on, there we go. All right, so thank you for that introduction. And I put this together a couple years ago, and I try to figure out what you need to know. And one of the things that I learned this year is I read a great book by Dick Fosbury called The Wizard of Foz. And if you like history and you like track and field, it's a wonderful book. And so I put this picture in because he was landing in sawdust up to 1969. Actually, he said he jumped in sawdust in 69 at Washington State. Go Cougs, my alma mater. And he did it numerous times. So anyway, this is him in high school when he got second in the high school state meet from Medford, Oregon High School. So I just still can't believe that they're landing he lands on sawdust and lives. So okay, so we're going to start at the beginning. This is your typical high jump setup. Now this is at 236, which is my PR, and I put it up there just Tuesday to look at it, and it's really high. But this is the way you want to set it up. You want to have the standard, okay? And that's where you place the crossbar, and it adjusts from 2 feet to 10 feet or whatever. And then you got the crossbar. And the crossbar can be anywhere from 12 feet to 14.10. The normal crossbar is 4 meters, which is 13 feet, 1 and change. But it can be as short as 12 and as long as 14.10. You need to have a foam landing pit other than the sawdust that you saw in the previous slide with Dick Fosbury, and a minimum of 16 feet wide, 8 feet deep, and 18 inches high. And if you're here, most of you are here in Southern California, some of the red coats will have you start covering up the bases of the standards and put some foam mats around the outside, which I think is a little overkill, but they still make you do it. And then you have to have a flat surface to run up to it. So that's the way you want to set it up. Now, another thing that you want to remember is when you're setting up the high jump crossbar, you want to set it so that the pad is pointing in the direction or towards the middle, so that it's lengthwise and not this way. This is not the way you want to have it. So you want to have the crossbar sitting here, and you want to have a little bit of a gap here so that it's not pinched in between. So that's a couple things that you need to understand about what the basic setup is. Now, what are you looking for in a high jumper? First of all, you want to find somebody, excuse me, I'm going a little ahead of myself. What makes a good jump? So we're not even there yet. Jumper has to take off of 1 foot. You can't take off of 2 feet. She cannot take off of 2 feet. The entire body must clear the bar. This goes back to the straddle, where they used to, the roll over the bar, where they drag a foot like they do on the hurdles outside. The flop, it's kind of hard unless you miss a pit to not get your entire body over the bar. The athlete initiates the attempt within 1 minute of call here in Southern California. May not use any weights or artificial aids. And then A fail jump or a miss is when they displace the crossbar and attempt to clear it. They touch the ground or they touch the pit or the landing area beyond the plane of the bar, okay? So the bar, from the standard to the bar, there's a plane. If their hand breaks that plane but doesn't touch anything, that's not a miss. But if the foot touches inside that plane, or if the hand touches the pit, that's considered a miss. Okay, and that's been a rule for a very long time. I had an argument with a coach a few years ago, and they didn't believe that was a miss, and they've been coaching for 5 years, and it's never been a rule. So, but it has been. After clearing the bar, contacts the upright and displaces the crossbar or steadies the bar. The athlete can leave the pit any way that they would like. They can go under, they can go over, they can do whatever they want. Some coaches say they left underneath the bar, it's a miss, and that's not correct. If they hit the bar as they go out, it's a miss. But if they go out under the bar, it's not a miss. They don't start the jump within that time period, minute when you've got everybody jumping, and as the bar goes up and fewer competitors. I think with 2 competitors, they give you a little bit more, and if you're all by themselves, you get even more than that. So, but you still have to do it within the allotted time. And the total body doesn't go over the bar, and it takes off from 2 feet. Again, even if they clear the bar and they take off of 2 feet, it's considered a miss, or they use some sort of artificial weights or aids. Again, special note, I am fighting this for my entire life. It is still a failed attempt if the athlete is out of the pit before the bar falls off. Every year we go to another school and they hit the bar and it's wiggling and they say, "Get out of the pit, get out of the pit." If you're out of the pit before it falls, it's a make, and that's not true. That's not true. So please help me, my crusade for dispelling that misnomer. All right. So how do you identify somebody who is going to be a potential good jumper? You know, I don't know how your school does it. We just let the kids go wherever we want. I do keep an eye open for athletes that look like they could be good high jumpers, but usually it's just, okay, I want to be a high jumper, so they come to me. But if they should be taller, thinner, faster, and they can jump. The last one for the flop is not as critical as the first 3. Again, tall makes sense because you're starting off higher. Your center of mass is higher off the ground. Thinner, you don't have to lift as much mass up into the air. Faster, the key to the flop, and the reason why the flop is now the only style that's being used now, is because you can run faster and turn that horizontal velocity into vertical velocity. And a lot of times, people who can jump don't always make the good high jumpers, but it doesn't hurt. Complementary events. The hurdles, high hurdles, the long sprints, 200, 400, triple jump. I don't know if you were following the NCAA indoor meets. First time I've heard of a double. Well, it is high jump and triple, or high jump and long jump. The kid from LSU, 7, 6.5, and 27 and change, all within a span of 2 hours. Kid's a stud. So you got a kid that's just coming out and you trying to figure out which foot they should be taken off from. I'll find something off in the distance for some of the shorter people. Just have them run and jump and take off of one foot like they're going for a layup. For me, I put my hand up. I'm 6'5", and give me a high five, and so most of them have to jump to give me a high five. But again, they're trying to take off of one foot. some of the guys that are a little taller try and touch the goalpost, jumping off of 1 foot. And the foot, don't tell them to think about it, just do it. And they'll naturally take off of the foot that's their dominant foot. If they kick with the left foot, then they'll jump off of the right foot. And if it doesn't work, at the beginning, switch them. If they're having a heck of a time doing any of these things, or if they keep jumping off of the inside foot rather than the outside foot when you're going through these drills, just switch them. It's early enough to where it's not going to make that big of a difference. Okay, so this is the layout of a 10-step approach. And what I've done with my kids, because I start with freshmen that have never jumped before, and some of the kids I'll actually get to work with for 4 years, which is kind of fun. And this is the where you want to get a 10-step approach that's shaped in this manner. You're in a J approach, and this is the way Dick Fosbury figured out he can get some rotations over the bar. If you want more about that, I'll go into that in my next presentation, I think in 2 weeks, where we'll talk about the 3.5 things that are important about the high jump. So what I'll do is I will start them off with a 4-step approach. And what I'll do is I'll just start and have them run 4 steps. So I'll get a mark, and usually for kids somewhere about 10 feet out from the standard and 10 to 15 feet back here, and I'll put a cone or a bunch of chalk marks, and I've gotten pretty good at figuring out where a kid can start by their height and how well they run. So it may take you a while to develop that, but you put down some chalk here, and they're going to take 4 steps, and you want the 4th step to be right here inside the pit or inside the standard. Here's the standard, the bar, and you want to start patterning that. When kids get to be 6 feet and above, they're going to be taking off at the standard. Anything between 6 feet and 8 feet ½ inch, you're going to be taking off at that standard. This is very important. I can't tell you how many athletes have come down to our school for dual meets that take off here, and my heart is in my throat as they're catching the corner of the pit, because they take off in the middle of the bar and then they land here. The reason why we use this just inside that standard, because as you saw in the first picture, is every school's got to have a standard. If you go off the first stripe in the crossbar, you got a Gill crossbar, you got a Pacer crossbar, you got a generic crossbar. The stripes are going to be different, but the standard's always going to be there. The other reason is you have the entire pit to land in, and the third reason is that even when you take off here, most of the kids are going to cross pretty much in the center of the crossbar, where it's going to be the lowest and it's the most forgiving. So I pattern that from the first time we run through. So once we put that, we put our starting foot is our takeoff foot on that mark, and then we'll take 4 steps towards that bar, and the 4th step is just here. And I will have them just run 4 steps and run by. And what I've called it now, we call this a U drill, and I try and make them run it in a U so that they end up coming back out and not flattening out when they get to the to that 4th step, because a lot of times they'll come through here and they'll flatten out, and so I want them to maintain that curve. And just trust me, you want them to run a curve, because that's going to get them to rotate over the bar. Now, this point is a point that you just picked out of thin air. If the steps are here, if their 4th step is there, move them back. If their 4th step is here, move them up. So that starting point should be so that their 4th step is here, okay? You want to make sure that they're running as close to normal as they can in 4 steps. You don't want them to be doing some weird hunky-junky high jump approach. And so again, takeoff foot, 1, 2, 3, takeoff foot. So we're working on the left side. If you're doing it from the right side, or we're doing it from the right side with the left foot takeoff, everything is just the opposite at the other side. Okay, so first thing we do every day, especially now, is we just do a backdrop, just to get them to feel that you land on your shoulders, you feel that arch, and it's disconcerting for the kids to fall back. And so they'll find out that, yeah, there is a soft pit that will keep me from breaking my neck. Also keeps their head up a little bit so they're landing on their shoulders and not on their head. So that's the first thing we do. So that's called the backdrop. Another exercise we do on the pit is arch to drop or arch to pike. Okay, dress code violation there. And so you just try and get them to arch as much as they can. And yeah, Brianna, the girl, she's been doing this for 4 years. Ryan has only been doing this for barely, no, not even a year. We got started last year and got shut down, so he's a sophomore, so he's still kind of a newbie. So that's called the arch to pike, and that's an exercise, again, to show them that it's not really a kicking action when you come over the bar, it's an unarch. Okay? And then the next is backovers, box jumps. So again, Brianna has been doing this for a while, and you can do this off of the ground and into the pit. I like to do it off a box because it gives the kid a little bit more time in the air when they're landing. So this gives them the feeling of what it should be like over the bar. And if she ever can get to that position in the high jump, it's all over. We'll be jumping really high. So, like I said, she's been doing this for several years. And again, what I'll do, and we've got a bar up here. I've got this device here I forgot from one of the sporting good manufacturers, where I just set the bar and then I can move the bar up and down. And I'm usually standing here holding onto the bar because we use the bar a lot. Because this thing here just allows me to move the bar up and down without playing with the standards. So on these drills, I'm holding onto the bar. I tell them you're not going to land on the bar, but because sometimes they get a little afraid of the bar. If you jump on the bungee a lot, then they get afraid of the bar, which I don't understand, but that's okay. It's not a triangular metal crossbar like what we started when I was a kid. So box over jumps. Another thing that we do, and this is all part of our warm-up that we do every day, is we'll run circles. And I stand in the center and get dizzy watching them. And I will cue them what I want them to do. Arms at 90, dorsiflex the toes, knees up, springing their step, shoulders to me, different things to get them to run more efficiently and run with better running mechanics. So this is Fernanda. She jumped 410 several times, never got her over 5 feet. It was a coaching flaw for me. She had some good technique. And here's Ryan, my sophomore, not quite as fluid, still learning. He's a soccer, just came out. I'm having to teach him how to run. Basketball players, you spend a lot of time teaching them how to run because they're always running with the ball, dribbling or accelerating, decelerating. So again, just talking about good running mechanics, arms bent, knees up, dorsiflex. And so again, this is something that I do every day. As part of my warm-up. And here you can see the lean is from the ankles. This is something that's very important, that you're leaning from the ankles. You're up tall. and is aligned your spine and is aligned with straight up and down, but leaning, that didn't make sense, did it? But working again on running mechanics. So again, part of my warm up every day. And then we'll go to the rhythm circle drill. And this is where I'll let you listen. I count for her. Okay, this is a 10-step approach. So this was her senior year, so she'd been doing it for 3 or 4 years. So I just give her 6, and then I want to hear her feet going dot 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 dot, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I will just cue her 6, and then I'll watch the rest of it. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now, uh, this is where if I start talking about arms or what have you, but a lot of times in these drills, the kids will automatically um, would automatically uh, start getting the arms in a natural flow. Um, and so here we go. Again, only a sophomore, still learning running mechanics. Not quite as smooth. And I've started using a 4 count since I'm using the 4 step. So I counted out it four, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think is what I use. We'll find out, huh? Oops, back. I said back. There we go. Okay, you heard me. Oh, dang. Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. Why are we not going back? I want to go back. No. Go back. Go back. Oh, now what do I do? Here we go. Okay, I guess I'm not going back. Okay, so here's the 4 step run by. He didn't last very long. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice where the takeoff foot is. 1, 2, 3, 4. The takeoff foot. And when I do this, I try and have the bar up somewhere that would be a challenge for the kids. Um, you know, school record or personal best or something like that. Again, so she's got her jumping foot here, her takeoff foot, and the takeoff foot will be um, by the bar, and there, and then continue to run by. On this drill, I don't have them do any jumping motion. Once the athlete can hit the correct takeoff position, have them run and step up into the pit with their inside foot. So just to get used to jumping with their outside foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, just into the pit. He was a freshman, like I said, he didn't last long. He wanted to try the high jump. Okay, this is Brianna, her sophomore year. 1, 2, 3, 4. So she's got a little bit of that rhythm going, stepping up into the pit. Again, just getting closer and closer to what would be considered a high jump. Okay? Now we'll do a scissors over the bar. And, okay, so that's Ryan. As you can see, this was last week with the masks on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what he does better here than when he high jumps, he keeps his chest up on the penultimate step. The penultimate step is the second last step. And I tried to show you when he does his high jump, I'll show it to you when we get to that. He gets his chest down, which is not good, but he's nice and tall and finishes high. Okay? So this is a good exercise. I've got a new kid coming out from basketball, and he can scissor. He almost scissored 5 feet, but he can't flop 4.6 because he just jumps into the bar. It's amazing, and he's frustrated as all get out. So we're going to continue to have him scissor, and then trying to get him to feel that verticalness as he's trying to also do his high jump. Okay, so once we have the scissor kick, now I'll just say, okay, try and land on your back. Okay, and I filmed this in slow motion, and it's very slow. Solid first step. The penultimate step, he's leaning forward, and then he rocks back into a pretty good position. Into the bar a little bit, and that 4-step tied his PR from last year from 8 steps, so that's not bad. He jumped 5 feet last year before everything got killed and shut down and locked out. So I think he'll jump pretty well this year. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and then again 3, and then the takeoff foot is right at that standard. Again, he passes the bar almost in the middle, and he's landing in the pit. Again, I have kids that their takeoff foot is here, and they'll take 2 more steps, and they'll jump from here and just catch the corner. And again, I'm wondering if I'm running a high jump at a dual meet and the kid misses the pit, is it my fault, or do I get to yell at the coach? So we did about 3 weeks of just jumping from 4 steps. And then once we've got that, and we've got a place that they can land that 4th step right at the takeoff, we will go to a 6th step, and then we'll go to an 8th step. So here's the 6th step. And of course, I don't get the whole thing, but so each time you move back, you generate more speed. And with more speed, everything happens faster. So after about 4 or 5 jump sessions at 6 steps, I'd go ahead and move them back to 8 step. And again, she missed her takeoff spot. She's a little bit inside. But see where she takes off, and then where she lands. Okay, so if she took off in the middle, she'd be barely making the pit. Okay, so more speed with the 10 steps. One thing that we had a hard time with her is you can see on step 4, I think, that she changes direction. 1, 2, 3. No, on step 3. You can see on step 3, you can see the change of direction, and that's a flaw that we had. We tried to get her to change, but we never really were able to do that. And then we go back to 10, and this would be what a 10-step should look like. Okay, one of the best approaches of any of my athletes ever. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great acceleration all the way through. That's the key. You want to have a good high jump, style high jump. You utilize your speed, but you want to generate it over the 10 steps. Solid step 1. Good arm action. You don't see a place where she changes direction. It's a nice smooth transition from straight to curved. There's no point where they hit the turn. You can see, oops, doggone it. Oh no, now what have I done? All right. you can see, I'll pause it, that she's got a straight ahead mark. These aren't her marks. You can see that she's got a cone that she's running straight at. So that's the first 5 steps are at that cone. The second 5 steps are curved. And so that's what the 10 step would look like. And when you're working out with a high jumper, if you just have them run with the sprinters or jump on Monday, and if they jump on Monday, then they'll run with the sprinters on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, if you have a Thursday meet, you want to do some light approach work. We do run-bys, warm up and do run-bys, and then our meets are usually Thursday. Friday are light work, and then Saturday, if you have the time, you can jump, run with the sprinters, do some light plyos, and then rest on Sunday. All right, so that is my story, and I'm going to stick with it. So now I stop sharing my screen. Is that right, Mr.?
Yeah, that's correct. If you'll stop sharing, we can see your handsome face
Okay,
once again.
there we go. All right.
All right, so we've got some questions for you. Thank you. That was excellent.
Okay.
Yes, we don't want kids to get hurt. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for dealing with that. All right, here's one. Coach Almgren asks, how large was that circle when you were doing the running drill? How large is that circle?
It would depend on the size of the kid and how fast they're going. 12 feet, 13 feet, 15 feet for some guys, 12 feet for some girls, some of the shorter kids. Um, I used to take a chalk and a tape measure and do that, but just this year I just put an X on the ground and I took 5 steps one direction, 5 steps another direction, and it worked out just really well. And it took about half the time, and my quads weren't burning after trying to do a circle like that. So yeah, again, if you've got a kid that's 6'4" and running pretty fast, it's going to be a pretty big circle. If you've got a freshman like Fernanda, she was 4'10". She wasn't even 5 feet tall. So her circle was a little bit smaller than the others.
Just an answer to one of the questions was, can we go back and look at the drills? Just a reminder, you're going to be able to go through the whole presentation, the video, and see all those at some point. So you did talk about drills there.
Right.
So you can go back and look at those when we post the video here. Next question here. How many jumps do kids take in an average practice session?
It depends on the time of the year and how high they're jumping. And how many kids you have, probably too. Probably early season, you could probably take about 10, 15, 20 jumps because it's not very high. Towards the end of the year, you want to slim that down a little bit, maybe keeping it under 10. Again, because your energy and your expansion of the taxing of the muscles are a little bit more towards the end of the year when you're jumping higher than it is earlier in the year when you're jumping at the lowest heights.
All right. Next question. What weight room? Do you do any lifting, specific lifting of any kind in the weight room?
Well, since we can't get into the weight room yet, no. This was the first year that I've actually been able to spend a lot more time with the high jumpers since I am now fully retired from teaching. So I was excited to get into some stuff. There's somebody on this line that might be able to help us with that, Sue Humphreys. When I saw her name, my level of anxiety went up a little bit. She's a high jump coach of renown from Texas. She might be able to help us out with some of those questions. But squats and any type of Olympic lifts. We do a lot of core stuff, trying to get the abs in the back and those things working together. So anything you can get to do in the weight room. I did when I was in high school. I just did leg press. We had a universal machine, and that's we didn't have anything else than that. And I went to a clinic with Dwight Stones in '76, and so I started doing some pulling exercises, some cleans, trying to do cleans, my version in high school. But yeah, so anything you can get again with a freshman, just getting him in there, I think would be a. I see Sue is unmuted. What do you have to say,
I'm gonna
Sue?
make her, we can make anything happen that you ask for. So,
I'm
Sue,
putting you on the spot, Sue.
I was going to say, what did I do to deserve this?
You're a great coach.
it's got more than one of us in trouble over the years.
Yes. Well, I'd say as far as the weights, like you say, that access gets to be an issue right now. But if you can, just do body weight type things and or the plyometrics, that would be an option too that you can do out on the field. We do a lot of one-legged or try to do one leg, single leg squats or activities with that too, just to strengthen the single leg, because obviously you're jumping off of one leg. So just an all-round, you don't have a lot of upper body weights that you need to do, but anything, step ups, lunges, anything like that. Do some med balls. You can do med ball work outside. So be creative.
One of the things that Sue reminded me, when you're doing some of the drills, especially early season, like the circle drills, I'll have them run the circle drill both directions, and doing a lot of that stuff off of their opposite, their what we call the stupid leg, because it's always fun to watch them try and do some things off of their non-dominant leg.
All right, very good. Sue, we're going to leave your audio on. If you want to jump in any point, that's great. It's always impressive when great coaches, we go to clinics and we can continue to learn, and it's exciting to have you with us. So if you'd like to jump in, please feel free to do so. All right, thank you. Here's another one. Coach Gray asks, how important is teaching the arch over the bar?
I play golf, and the backswing is what sets the ball in motion. If you don't get the backswing in the right place, once the ball's in the air, you can yell at it. I talk to the ball all the time, and it doesn't listen. Everything that you do in the air is related to how you leave the ground. No lie, I was at a big track meet at Trabuco Hills High School, hearing a coach yell at his kid, "Stay in the air longer, stay in the air longer." I'm going, so it's the presentation I'm giving in 2 weeks, I think it is, there are 20 slides on the approach, 10 slides on the takeoff, 10 slides on bar clearance, and I think I put a slide on the landing. That's the 3.5. The half is the landing. Don't kill yourself. So everything that we talked about is the approach, because once you leave the ground, you can't do anything to jump higher, but you can do a lot of things that will get in the way. So staying in that curve is, there's a YouTube video. Can I grab my screen back again?
Yeah, sure. Just share screen at the bottom there.
All right, I think I can find it. I think I put it here. I had it opened. Doggone. I had it open. Shoot. Okay, I'll go here.
This is when we need to be careful that you don't show.
Yeah, right. All right, I'm going to give you the presentation from the next one. I've got tons. Okay. Sue's seen this video, I'm sure.
Is this Stefan Holmes?
Yeah, this changed my life. I saw this and I loved it. There's just bad music.
Yeah.
So it talks about what's called the hinge moment, and that's what gets the rotation over the bar, and the rotation is how you get your butt up there and then the feet come over. And let me get to the money picture here. Okay, this is the lean that starts the hinge movement. So I'm not going to show the whole thing because I don't want to give the whole thing away, but the the conservation of momentum, when you slow down one portion of the body, the upper part speeds up. So that's what happens with that crossbar. The crossbar will rotate. I competed against a guy from Cerritos College when I was at Fullerton, that this is his arch. He went over flat as a board. He jumped 7.2, I think, but he had great rotation. And what you want to see when you're on top of the bar, you want to see that the head and shoulders get below the hips. And it doesn't matter how much arch you have if you have no rotation. So that shows you right there, his head and shoulders are below his hips. The arch is not the most important thing. The kid from LSU that won the NCAA, he had a very timed arch, and he timed it perfectly. But the problem with that style is when you're on, you're going to jump high. When you're off, you're not. It's going to be a problem. So this shows you that rotation comes from running the curve, taking off in a leaning a position, leaning away from the bar and leaning back, and getting that rotation. So Sue, do you remember what that video is called on the internet? I don't remember.
I think let's see, YouTube, Stefan Holmes, slow motion maybe,
yeah.
or something. But I think the key thing, like Doug said just now, is when these youngsters are running their approach, the natural tendency is to lean forward or toward the pit. And that's the thing you've got to really break them of initially. I tell them high jump running is different than sprint running because you have to run much taller and lean away, like Doug said, lean away from the bar, and like was demonstrated in that video just then. So and for young kids, you're telling them to lean away from where they're trying to jump, and that's a scary concept. So you start low and just get their confidence and then build up.
And that's why that circle drill is so important. And you saw from the outside when Fernanda was running, you could see that she was leaning from the ankles. I remember my high school state meet, Gail Olson from somewhere in the city was running, and he would bend at the waist and lean sideways. And I'm going, wow, what a great lean. But he was just broken at the waist. He could stand there and not fall over. And that's the lean. If they were to stop, they would fall. And so it's that constant running in that circle, the centripetal force and all that good stuff that will keep you in the curve. And as soon as it's like a yo-yo, swinging a yo-yo around your head, as soon as you let go, it goes in a straight line. So that's also going to get you into the pit without jumping into the bar.
Excellent. That those of you who joined us for our biomechanics tonight, Cameron promised you that they would talk about it. That's exactly the same thing that Cameron showed. Yeah. I think you just answered the question. The next one was the best solution for an athlete that always jumps straight into the bar rather than going up.
Yeah, I would do the scissors. I'm not a big advocate of scissors late in the season because you can't run the curve and scissor the bar, because if you run the curve, you're going to rotate. So it takes you out of the curve. Although you can, I think Barshim has a video of him scissoring like 7.2 on the internet now. It's just silly. So using that feeling of scissoring and then I tell the kids you need to look at the FAR standard. One of the things, turning your shoulders a little bit towards the inside of the circle, so this is where I need to stand and show everybody something. But so that your
Yeah, that'll
shoulders are
work.
into the center of the circle a little bit. Jimmy Howard used to really exaggerate that when he ran. His shoulders, he almost ran sideways trying to get that shoulder turn for that takeoff position. Um, but yeah, and just try and have them stay in that curve. And it's a hard thing. And some kids, it's so I got to make it into the pit. And that's this basketball player who's looks like he could jump, and like I said, he scissored 5 feet already, and he can't flop but 4, 4, 6, because what happens is he's got what's called eccentric thrust, where if your center of mass is inside your foot position, you're actually going to push the center of mass down as you push up from your foot, and your shoulders are going to go down. So yeah, it's amazing how you can scissor something at one height but can't flop it. It's because of that eccentric thrust.
Well, there was another question here related to that. Someone asked, said they looked like when you were doing scissors, it was more of a straight line than that you talked about.
Yes,
Is that true?
yes, yes, and yeah, the old straddle was a straight line. And the scissors were actually the go-to style back in 19 aughts. And in fact, one of the things that I thought, and then it was Dick Fosbury corroborated it in his book, The Wizard of Foz, is that the flop was actually as much a technical advancement as it was in a equipment advancement, because he talks about the guy that invented the porta-pit was coming in right in the mid 60s, and it made it a lot easier for him to land in foam than on sawdust. So yeah, it's a good book if you want to read it, by the way.
Here, let's leave the high jump only and talk about other events, because there were a couple of questions from different coaches about that, about sharing athletes. So first off, so sharing athletes with other events, how do you work that personally within your program?
It's still kind of tough. You know, I'm there Tuesday, Thursdays with the jumpers, and some Fridays. And like this week, they were triple jumping on Monday, and they jumped the crap out of them. And so Tuesday they came to me and they said they were pretty tired. So I made sure I knew that, and I adjusted what I had planned to do with them. And I talked with the triple jump coach and said, look, you know, I jump on Tuesdays, so every once in a while give me some time with these kids where they're fresh. But that's always a frustration. But again, if you're a jumping, going from one jump to another, just make sure that you understand that when you're, especially later on in the week. You can't go high jump Monday, long jump Tuesday, triple jump Wednesday, and then expect the kid to do anything on Thursday, especially late in the season. Early in the season, you know, when you're just doing some of the teaching stuff and low impact, low efforts, it's not as important as later on in the season when you're trying to get the guys to peak.
Well, here's one of them related just to that. The sprinter hurdler, that's also the high jumper, is it better to have him or her do his sprint workout the day before and then jump after, or better to high jump and then do the sprint workout the next day?
It's always better to jump when you're a little bit fresher because of the technical aspects. Once you become fatigued, the technique starts to wane a little bit. So I would say if you could jump and then run, that would be a better option, but sometimes that's not the option you have. And you know, you want to do what's good for the team, and that's one of the things that we've always been good, is we try and put the best team forward and share the athletes, except for our vault coach. Sometimes he's a little bit stingy.
Some things are universal. Coach Bowers has a question here. So this is a coaching question. So if I'm standing horizontal to the bar, if you're standing horizontal, how far away should you be?
Okay, good question. I do. One of my presentations, I do how to coach the high jump, and it's not a chair in the middle of the apron with your your flower drink. It depends on what you're trying to find. Uh, if I'm looking for the curve, the best overall spot is inside the arc where I was videoing during the jumps. That's you can get the most information. If I want to watch the first couple strides of the high jump approach, I will stand from behind. I will watch them from behind and make sure that they're initiating the transition smoothly in the approach. Sometimes I will stand alongside the bar to see where their center of mass is when they go over the bar. Is the center of mass on top of the bar? Is it in front of the bar? Is it behind the bar? When they hit their peak, because you can make adjustments in their approach to make sure that the peak of the parabola is over the bar. Sometimes I'll stand outside the curve and look at that again to see the last three steps, to see if the last three steps are in a straight line or if they're curved. So it depends on what you're trying to see is where you're going to stand. So it's active participation coaching. You got to get up and move.
Very good. How important is the knee drive in the high jump?
Yes, it's important. Well, as Sue said, running mechanics in the high jump are a little bit almost exaggerated running mechanics. You want big arms, you want high knees, and if you think about if you have a good high arm action and a good high knee, that helps apply force to the ground, which again allows you to jump higher. But it also raises your center of mass as you leave the ground. The higher the center of mass as it leaves the ground, the higher it can go when it's in the air. So again, since that quad, that upper thigh is a major muscle group and has a lot of mass, it's important. And then once they're in the air, you want to make sure that they let it drop. And Jim Kiefer used to use the term block and drop. Just get the arms up, block as high as you can, and then drop, and let your body go over the bar.
All right. Well, we've been going about an hour, so let's end on this last question here. High jump strategy during a meet.
I was going to put that in here today too, and I just I forgot to do that. You want to what I would do is whatever I made in warm-ups is usually where I would start. So you don't have to jump at every height. You want to come into the meet and you want to go through your thorough warm-up. I don't see how kids can not take warm-up jumps, but kids from other schools will walk up and they won't take any warm-up jumps, and it's like, why? So take a few warm-up jumps, and the last jump will be whatever the starting height is. If you make everything on your first jump, that's great. And so if the bar, it's tough. The kids like to jump every height, but as things get a little bit later in the year, you might want to jump every other height. You might want to, if it's a big meet and they're trying to win the meet, and they've got a miss at a low height, and they know they can go to the next one, then they maybe pass that and go to the next height. But it's very personal for each kid. I'll put that in for next time.
All right, very good. Well, thank you so much. We're going to thank you and your coach, Sue Humphreys.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks so much for jumping in with us. I really do appreciate it.
No problem.
When you come out to Mount Sac, Doug and I will buy you an In-N-Out burger or something else, okay?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Doug, thank you so much. I think that was outstanding. I think if you've never coached the high jump, I think you got it from this. This is a good place to start. And I think if you are a high jump coach, I think there's a lot of stuff in there to remind you of what you do well. So I just think that was an outstanding hour. I can't think of a better way to spend a Thursday night. It's just us, we're just high school, just track coaches. We just love it. It was great, Doug. Thank you so
Track
much.
geeks. You're
All
welcome.
right. Don't be, again, we'll post those, and I'd like to remind you, we'll be back next Tuesday night. And next Tuesday, all you distance runners, you get your geek on here, because we'll have Dr. Jeff Messer. And Jeff is one of the finest, not just one of the finest coaches in the country, but a scholar in the distance event, unlike any other. He may be the best presenter in the distance areas that you'll have ever heard. So if you want to join us next Tuesday, we'll go 6 more sessions next week. We go 3 more weeks. Check the website, register for all the ones you want. And once again, to Doug and Sue, thank you so much. And everybody else, good night, my friends.
Good night.